The structure of the body, which is also termed anatomy, is closely interrelated with how it functions, which on the other hand is termed as physiology. Learning normal anatomy and physiology will also help you grasp the changes and symptoms that occur with certain disease process. The study of the processes that disturb normal function is called pathophysiology, whereas patho means suffering or disease. Therefore, pathophysiology refers to disease functioning. For example, the lungs consist of a series of tubes called bronchi, and that the smallest of these bronchi end in tiny sacs called alveoli. This is a very basic description of the structure or anatomy of the lung. From this, you will learn that oxygen is absorbed into the bloodstream through the alveoli. That's where physiology plays its role. Learning this, you can now understand why a person becomes short of breath if the bronchi becomes narrowed, such as during an asthmatic attack or block caused by a tumor. Now, let's go to the organization of the body. The human body is organized in a hierarchy ranging from the very simple, a microscopic atom, to the very complex, a human being. Atoms link together to form molecules. Then the molecules are organized into various structures, including organelles. Organelles are the metabolic units within a cell that perform a specific function necessary to the life of the cell. Examples include mitochondria, the powerhouses that furnish the cell's energy, and the cell's nucleus. Organelles are contained within organs. And the cells are the smallest living units that make up the body's structure. Cells group together to form organ systems. The tissues, which are a specialized group of cells with similar structure and function, tissues come together to form organs. The body contains 4 types of tissues: the epithelial tissue, the connective tissue, the muscle and nerve tissue. Epithelial tissue covers or lines body surfaces. Examples include the outer layer of the skin, the walls of capillaries, and kidney tubes. The connective tissue connects and supports parts of the body. Some transport and store materials. Examples include bone, cartilage, and adipose tissue. Muscle contracts to produce movement. Examples include skeletal muscles and the heart. Nerve tissue generates and transmits impulses to regulate body function. Examples include the brain and the nerve. Organs are structures of 2 or more tissue types working together to carry out a particular function. Examples include the heart, stomach, and kidney. Organs then form cells. Organ systems, which are groups of organisms, organs that all contribute to a particular function. All of the organ systems together form a human organism. The human body consists of 11 organ systems. The organs of each system contribute to a particular function. However, some organs belong to more than one system. Specifically, the pharynx is both the part of the respiratory and digestive systems, and the male urethra belongs to both reproductive and urinary system. The integumentary system consists of hair, nails, and skin. The skeletal system consists of bones, cartilage, and ligaments. The muscular system consists primarily of smooth cardiac muscle and skeletal muscle. The lymphatic system consists of lymph nodes, lymphatic vessels, lymph thymus, spleen, and tonsils, which are essential in releasing toxins in the body. The respiratory system consists of the nose, pharynx, larynx, trachea, bronchi, and lungs. The urinary system consists of the kidneys, ureters, urinary bladder, and urethra. The nervous system consists of the brain, spinal cord, nerves, and sense organs. The endocrine system consists of the pituitary gland, adrenals, pancreas, thyroid, parathyroids, and other organs. The circulatory system consists of the heart, arteries, veins, and capillaries. The digestive system consists of the stomach, small and large intestines, esophagus, liver, mouth, and pancreas. Male reproductive system consists of the testes, vas deferens, prostate, seminal vesicles, and penis, while the female reproductive system consists of ovaries, fallopian tubes, uterus, vagina, and the breast. All these systems form a human organism or forms one complete individual. Now let's go to anatomical terms. Terms are very important when describing things or location, likewise in navigating your way around the human body. Besides being used to identify the location of various body parts, the use of proper terms ensures accurate communication between healthcare providers. Since the body is three-dimensional, a number of different terms are needed. These include directional terms as well as terms for body planes. All terms are based on the body being in the anatomical position, which is standing erect, arms at the sides, with face, palms, and feet facing forward. Letter A. Directional terms. Directional terms are generally grouped in pairs of opposite. Number 1. Medial, towards the body's midline. Lateral, away from the body's midline. Distal, farthest from the point of origin. Proximal, closest to the point of origin. Superior, above. Inferior, below. Anterior, ventral, toward the front of the body. Posterior, dorsal, toward the back of the body. Superficial, at or near the body surface. Deep, away from the body surface. Letter B. Body planes. Body planes divide the body or an organ into sections. Number 1 is sagittal plane, divides the body lengthwise into right and left sides. It's called mid-sagittal plane if the section is made exactly at midline. It is often used in illustrations to reveal the organs in the head or pelvic cavity. 2. Transverse plane. It divides the body horizontally into upper and lower portions. It is also called a horizontal plane, and it's used by CT scanners to reveal internal organs. Frontal plane. It divides the body lengthwise into anterior and posterior portions. It is also called a coronal plane. It is often used in illustrations to show the contents of the abdominal and thoracic cavities. Letter C. Anatomical terms of movements. Movement terms are used to describe the actions of muscles on the skeleton. Muscles contract to produce movement at joints, and the subsequent movements can be precisely described using the anatomical terms below. Number 1, flexion and extension. Flexion and extension are movements that occur in the sagittal plane. Flexion refers to a movement that decreases the angle between two body parts, while extension refers to a movement that increases the angle between two body parts. Abduction and adduction. Abduction is a term that describes movement away from the midline, while adduction is a movement towards the midline. Medial and lateral rotation. Medial rotation refers to a rotation movement towards the midline and is also referred to as internal rotation, while lateral rotation is a rotating movement away from the midline. Elevation and depression. Elevation refers to movement in a superior direction, while depression refers to movement in an inferior direction. Pronation and supination. These actions are sometimes confused with medial and lateral rotation, but they are two different terms. Supination and pronation are movements of the forearm. Dorsiflexion and plantar flexion. These are terms used to describe movements at the ankle. They refer to the two surfaces of the foot, the dorsum and the plantar surface. Dorsiflexion refers to flexion of the ankle, while plantar flexion is the extension of the ankle. Circumduction is the movement of a body region in a circular manner in which one end of the body region being moved stays relatively stationary while the end forms a circle. It is the sequential combination of flexion, adduction, extension, and abduction at a joint. Rotation. Circumduction and rotation are two different movements. Rotation can occur within the vertebral column, at the pivot joint, or at the ball and socket joint. Rotation is produced by the summation of small rotational movements available between adjacent vertebrae. Next is the body types. The waist to hip ratio looks at where a person carries his weight and the health risks associated with the weight. Number 1, ectomorph. Ectos have a light build with small joints and lean muscles. Usually ectomorphs have long thin limbs with stringy muscles. Shoulders tend to be thin with little width. Number 2, mesomorph. Muscular body build characterized by predominance of structures, bone and muscle, and connective tissue. Number 3, endomorph is solid and generally soft. They gain fat very easily, and those are usually of a shorter build with thick arms and legs. Muscles are strong, especially the upper legs. Endomorphs find they are naturally strong in leg exercises like the squat. Body posture and postural deviation. Correct posture is described as the proper alignment of body segments in relation to the different body position, while postural deviation is the misalignment of the body segments. Poor nutrition, improper routinely posture, poor daily habits, occupational practices, congenital deformities, and lack of physical exercises are factors that are influencing postural deviation. Postural deviation can happen with either an increase or decrease of the normal body curves, leading to uneven pressure within the joint surfaces. Ligaments will be under strain. Muscles may need to work harder to hold the body upright, and pain may occur. Common deviations among students. Forward head. This is characterized by the head and neck extended forward. It is the anterior positioning of the cervical spine. The posture is sometimes called scholar's neck or reading neck. Round shoulder. It is described as the deviation of the shoulder girdle where the scapula is abducted and shoulders are oriented forward. The chest is flat and usually the pectoral muscles are shortened while the longitudinal back muscles are lengthened. Wing scapulae. It is characterized by prominence in the borders of the scapulae. Both scapula and may be abducted due to the weakness of middle trapezius or tightness of the pectorals. Next is kyphosis, described as over-curvature of the thoracic vertebrae. It is characterized by an increased curve in the back region from the lumbar to the upper portion of the back. The head and the shoulders are forward and the chest is flattened. Lordosis. It is described as the deviation where there is over-curvature in the lumbar vertebrae. Then kypholordosis, it is observed when the normal curve of the thoracic as well as the lumbar vertebrae increase. Next is scoliosis. Scoliosis is described as the lateral curvature of the vertebral column. Deformities could either be a single curve or letter C or a compound curve, letter S. The two types of scoliosis, C and S, was named from the alphabet C and S due to its form. Genovarum and genovalgum. Also known as bow legs, genovarum is a deformity of the lower extremity wherein the knees are separated when in fact it is joined together. Genovalgum is observed when the knees are drawn together and the feet become separated. And lastly, pes planus, described as a decreased longitudinal arc of the feet. The depression of the arc is usually accompanied by a pronation and abduction of the foot, which makes it weak and inefficient. Now let's go to our last topic, which is the homeostasis. For you to function properly, your body must maintain a relatively constant internal environment despite changes in external conditions. This constancy or balance is called homeostasis. Homeostasis is often referred to as maintaining a dynamic equilibrium because the body must make constant changes to maintain balance. If the body loses homeostasis, illness or even death will occur. That's how important homeostasis is in our body. The body operates within a specific range of temperature, fluids, and chemicals. This range of normal is called the set point or set point range. For example, the body's internal temperature should remain between 97 degrees and 99 degrees Fahrenheit or 36 degrees Celsius to 37.2 degrees Celsius, despite the temperature outside the body. Homeostasis regulation. Maintaining a stable environment requires constant monitoring and adjustment as conditions change. This process of adjustment, called homeostatic regulation, involves a receptor which receives information about the change in the environment, a control center which receives and processes information from the receptor, and an effector which responds to signals from the control center by either opposing or enhancing the stimulus. The signal sent by the effector is called feedback. Feedback can be either negative or positive. Negative feedback. When the effector opposes the stimulus, such as a dropping temperature, and reverses the direction of change, causing the temperature to rise. Positive feedback is when the effector reinforces the stimulus, such as uterine contractions during childbirth, which trigger the release of the hormone oxytocin and amplifies the direction of change, causing even greater contractions and further release of oxytocin.